What is up, you guys? It is a glorious day in Atlanta, Georgia. We got a new episode for you. Today's episode is going to be a full ride review on BMW's G310R. I got it right here. It's going to be a good day. Stay tuned for the review. So, the BMW G310R, what is it? Besides having a name that's really hard to get out for me, I just want to keep butchering that. Every time I say BMW G, I want to follow it with an S, but there is no S in this one. This one has an R. BMW really needs to find some other letters to use. They can't just put G, S, and R in every single name and just varying amounts of. Sometimes there's an S, sometimes there's two R's, sometimes there's no R's, sometimes there's GS and some double R's. It's just a lot of G's and R's and S's, and man, we need some new models, GMW. Let's throw some more K's in there, man. Let's get some more K bikes coming out. I know you got a couple, but enough of a rant about BMW's letters. They can do whatever the hell they want with their bike names. It's really not that confusing. It's just confusing to me and my word vomit. But this bike is a 300 class, essentially beginner bike. Oh man, Revolution Donuts, that place slaps. We're not on this mission for donuts, my friends. We're not on this mission for donuts. 300cc bike, or 300 class bike. All of those bikes that are in the 300 class, they're never truly 300 cc's. They'll be like 296, or they'll be called a 310, but they'll be 304. It's marketing. 310 sounds good, but they're all jumbled in. I'm gonna call them 300 class bikes. And honestly, this is one of my favorite ones in the class, just because it's got style for miles. You might say that the build quality isn't as good as some other competitors, but I think it's sufficient for what you're paying for one of these. This one obviously has some aftermarket goodies. You can probably see some in camera right now, but I want to say that none of the aftermarket stuff in this bike really affects power at all. It doesn't really affect capability at all. It's just all aesthetic stuff that makes it easier to live with and more comfortable or just cooler looking. So I think this review is genuinely pretty like true to form for if you go get a stock one of these. Brakes are okay. They're not impressive, but they stop the bike. It's not very heavy, so it doesn't really take much to stop it, even with my 200-ish pounds on it. The suspension is soft, but I think it's good for like hooligan stuff. Like you can kind of pump a speed bump like that, get a little air, just by like letting it spring back up for you. Let's do that again. And I haven't really gotten an opportunity to take it on many like twisty roads, but around the city, kind of zipping around, it's compliant. It feels good. These bars, like I said, are aftermarket. I like them more. I have ridden one with the stock bar. It's a little short for my taste. This little kind of motocross bar here, it gives me more leverage, so I can kind of do the shit that I like to do. And that is one thing that I change on most motorcycles. I don't think any bike has a stock bar that's good enough for me. It's just such an easy mod to really dial in what you like on a bike, so why not? I will say, for like zipping around town, like if I didn't take such long trips, I think I could replace my bike with this bike pretty easily. I'm having a really good time. It'll go 2 up for me at least. I've done that already. Like I've done a lot of kind of torture testing, I guess, experimenting on this bike that like isn't going to be in this video, just kind of like getting my feel for it. I generally ride pretty fast, pretty hard, so I like to make sure a bike is up for that before I go out and try to make a video on it. Let's see here. Can the bike go off-road? All bikes are dirt bikes. Oh, there we go. Yeah, buddy. Now we're out here. Can't have a BMW bike without taking it off-road a little bit, right? That's what these things are designed for. BMW street bikes. You're supposed to go exploring. You're supposed to go riding. The first rule of borrowing somebody's bike is you gotta do a bunch of shit that they don't want you to do on it. No, I'm kidding. I got permission to take this bike off-road. Obviously the tires aren't good for this. Obviously the suspension isn't good for this. This bike is not designed for this shit at all. This is also like a rocky field, not like your typical off-road stuff, but hold on a second, let's get a picture in here just so I can tease the owner and let them see their bike kind of being wild. Somehow the gas cap was just right here. I don't know if it popped off at some point or if I just didn't secure it properly, but there's that. Driven racing gas caps, be careful, they will pop the fuck off. All right, back at it. I got a pretty cool photo there. I probably floated it on the screen just a second there, a second ago there, so you saw it. It's a decent photo, right, for a little cell phone pic. I like it. All right, let's go ahead and get on out of here. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you'll remember that I used to do a little series called Me versus Coffee, where I would review coffee shops, and they weren't very successful, so I didn't keep doing it, but I had a lot of fun making those, so I kind of wanted to cruise by a coffee shop today, kind of talk about it a little bit during this review, just kind of like, ooh, is that soft? Can I get out right there? Well, let's see if we can just do the chain. I've done that before in other videos where I just move the chain up and that gives me enough room to get under and out. Yep. A lot easier on my bike, or a lot easier than on my bike. My bike is tall and heavy. That's honestly why I could see myself living with one of these machines. They're just so much like friendlier to like toss around. Besides the weird, my gas cap popped off because I was blasting too hard. They're just really fun and nimble and easy to live with. You can slip into a little off-road spot really easily, have your fun and get on out of there. If this bike were to fall over, I could pick it up pretty easily, unlike my bike, which is a beast of a bike to pick up and kind of a hog off-road to like wrestle around. But these are just really fun and unintimidating. I think if you're a beginner rider or just somebody that needs like an economical commuting bike, like a little daily rider, this can be it for you. Obviously we're gonna do some more on it, but I'm almost at this coffee shop, so I want to kind of talk about it for a little bit. But this place just opened up. A bunch of people I know just happen to work there or just hang out around there, which is great. It's called Perk. It's right in Kirkwood, but I genuinely like this place. The staff is nice. They make you feel welcomed. The products are dope. They have like a specialty coffee list that kind of looks like a alcoholic beverage list where they have like true specialty drinks. It's pretty great. It's super easy to get to. This parking is never full, so I always get like front row parking. If not on this side of the street, right over there on that side of the street. There's kickstand down. So if you're ever in Kirkwood, check this place out for sure. But let's also check out this bike. This is it, the bike in all its glory. Shout out to me. Stock exhaust, really mostly stock everything, honestly. It's got aftermarket handlebar, aftermarket gas cap, that means to kill me, aftermarket mirror, aftermarket handlebar we talked about, and some aftermarket grips. Also tinted windscreen, that's aftermarket. But otherwise the bike's pretty standard, clean, simple, but I like it. Like I said, they make that GS version of it, which is super tempting, even more so now that I've spent a lot of seat time on this. I'm gonna have to look into that bike because this motor is pretty impressive for what it is, and price point really kind of drives that point home. I think these are super worth considering if you want a beginner bike and you want something a little bit more original than like a Ninja 300 or whatever. I would say honestly, this is my top 5 for beginner bikes, honestly. At least this power plant, like whether you get it in this version or the GS version, just kind of pick whatever works better for you, you know. But I'm gonna slide in here, get this coffee. I will be back in a second, my friends. Okay, coffee was had. Started to get busy there as I was leaving, so that's really good timing because we are not trying to get that Rona. What good motorcycle review would not include a little highway leg? So we're gonna go see what this bike can do on the freeway. See what happens when you let it stretch its legs a little bit. Again, I don't want to wait for that light, so we're gonna go this way. Come on, pick one, whichever one you want. All right, gas cap is still where it belongs. 3rd Avenue is a dead end, so we're not gonna go down that one. I think 4th is open, if I'm not mistaken. 4th will get us back to where we can find a little bit of highway action and see what the old little 300 class BMW can do. Like I said, man, this thing scoots. I like it. I like it a lot. Woo! Honestly, standing up is pretty neutral. Like, I could do that. Obviously, again, you don't want to take this bike off-road, really. That was more or less a joke. But I feel like I could, if I really wanted to, do some fire roads, some little dirt roads. It can handle it pretty all right. At least with the standing position. And the power plant, honestly, it's got a little bit of... It's got a decent amount of little low end, you know. No turn on red. I want to turn on red, though. So I'm going to do this here. Yeah, I cannot wait for these lights. I can't do it. I just can't do it, guys. All right. First gear is super short. It's got nothing. About 12 miles an hour is what first gear is going to get you. Now I'm in 5th, cruising at about 50, 40, 50. Feels good. Not bad. Neutral, it doesn't click into neutral like most bikes will. It's just, you get no feel. You get no confirmation you're in neutral, but there is a neutral light. So that is at least a nice feature. This would be a complete dud had they not included that light, just because you have no true way of knowing what gear you're in. Like, unless you start letting the clutch out to see if it stalls, you know. Like, I like that nice definitive like click into neutral, so you know, you feel it, you're confident. But having a light is good. I'd like both if possible. I think that's where we're at with the motorcycle industry. I think we deserve a nice engineered click as well as a light. For beginners, the gear position indicator is really great. I'm the kind of person that typically counts my gears, like just internal clock. I tend to know what gear I'm in, with the exception of sometimes if you stop real fast, like you might have to do that like at the stoplight, click down the first or whatever. But typically I know exactly what gear I'm in. But having that little counter is good for a beginner, so they're not having to worry about if they have any more juice underneath them, or if they're in a low enough gear to rip off, you know. I know when I first started riding, I did a lot of like, oh my god, I stopped in 5th gear, and then like you forget about it. You're like clutching, sitting at a light. You haven't learned those good habits just yet. So that is a great feature, I'd say. Generally, the dash is just really useful. It's got your odometer, of course. You got your miles per hour. You got a digital tach. Got a clock. Gear position indicator, like we've said several times now. It tells you how many miles till empty, which is a really dope feature. And then everything else is just your standard lights, high beam, turn signals. Turn signals share a light, so you're not going to get a left turn signal and a right turn signal. There's one light that beeps both. Kind of looks like hazards, which is a little disappointing. The first couple times I threw it on, I thought my hazards were on, and I had to start kind of looking for the hazard switch. When I realized it was just the turn signal, I had to like look over and see that it was just my light. But another small gripe, but I think they could have shielded out for 2 arrows, you know, and an independent switch. But whatever, it is what it is. The rest of them are pretty neutral. Obviously, all your typical lights you would have that look exactly the way they are. Check engine light. You got an ABS light for when that kicks on, because this bike is equipped with ABS, which is pretty baller for its price point. You know, this is a $5,000 motorcycle, so getting ABS in that price point is pretty sick, especially for a beginner. That just really raises the level of safety for them. We're about to get on the highway here, so let me, the helmet's all clicked down. With the lane splitter, there's like partially closed and there's like fully closed. So like for realsies closed for serial. So now we're in that. Let's drop some gears here so we can get some torque. This is 2nd. I've ridden a lot of small displacement bikes on the highway, so I know you gotta like make the best of those gears. You want to really rev them out. We're at 50 now in 4th gear. It's pretty buzzy. I don't want to sit here for too long. I just want to get as much as I can out of it. 5th at about 60 miles an hour. Gonna go ahead and merge. We're at 6th gear. This is 70 miles an hour. Got some buzz, but honestly it's not too bad. The bike is at 7,000 RPMs exactly. Red line's around 10. So not too bad. It's high up in the range for sure. I wouldn't want to do this for hours, but a couple exits. I just tried to snatch it into 7th. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it is buzzing and it's just like instinctively I want to be like up. But like I said, it's doing it. It feels comfortable. I wouldn't want to do this for hours because eventually you are kind of putting a strain on it. But 3-4 exits, not bad at all. I'm at 72 now. Let's see what it's got. Let's try to give it all the beans. 85, 88, 90, 94, 95, 95 is what it's got. It's not going to give me any more than that. 95 miles an hour on a 300 class little naked bike with a 200-pound man on it. That ain't too shabby. That ain't too shabby at all. You could live with this for sure. I feel comfortable touring on this. When I do tours, I try to avoid the highway a lot anyway. I know a lot of guys like with the big bikes, they love going on long highway stretches. I hate being on the highway for any length of time, no matter how big my bike is. So my tours are usually just like Google Maps, avoid highway routes. Sometimes I'll even throw it into like bicycle there routes so I can get some more turns involved and get off of those like 50-60 mile an hour roads. This would do it. This bike honestly would get me anywhere I would personally need to go at a speed that I'm comfortable going. I really don't see any shortcomings that aren't expected for the price point. Brakes are okay. They're not the most grabby things ever. Seats pretty comfortable for what it is. Like I'm also a guy that like buys aftermarket seats. I love changing out a seat on the bike just so I can change out ride height. For this one I'd probably go with the seat that's taller because like I'm comfortable. My knees are in the knee swell like where they were designed to be, but just coming off of riding the Versus, I'm just used to being a little higher up, so I would take that. If it were me, I'd probably run like a dirt bike bar, like a Pro Taper bar that's taller, and then a seat that's a little taller, and then I'd probably switch out the suspension for something a little stiffer, and that'd be my setup. So this is a beginner bike, so let's take it where a lot of these like little beginner kind of lower displacement bikes end up. A college campus. Let's go kind of see how the college kids are living on this other campus. We're pretty close to Georgia State University. Oh, that guy was doing, it looked like he was strangling something, but it was just like a pile of nothing. We're gonna go cruise down by Georgia State University, kind of see what life is like there right now, kind of get this bike where it belongs, in the urban jungle. It is obviously capable on the highway, but that's not really where it wants to live. It wants to live down here amongst the children. Not that there's many children on campus right now. This is pretty desolate, which I am glad to see. I am glad to see no kids here because they definitely should not be here. I mean, there's some, but they're all wearing masks. It seems like pretty all right. Campus seems honestly pretty chill. Hell yeah. Coronavirus is devastating Georgia, so it's cool to see people being responsible. It's cool to see very few kids out. This girl needs to put a mask on. It's kind of an asshole of the group, I guess. Nobody told her that, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. If I remember correctly, there's like a really cool underground parking deck over here, so we're gonna try to slide on in and see what we can see, do some exploring. One of the Fast and the Furious films was filmed down here, like a little clip of it. The scene where they have basically the game of chicken and crash the cars into each other was down in here. My shield is tinted, so I can't see shit. So it's just kind of cool to explore down here and see this like weird little area that honestly, if it wasn't on a school campus, I would say this is pretty fucking sketchy. But I don't think I'm the target audience for crime down here, honestly. They're gonna pick an easier target than a guy my size who will shoot the shit out of them if given this opportunity. But I love these little sketchy like back alley areas, and nothing better to do it on than a 300 class bike or just a small displacement bike in general, because you can just really get in and out of anywhere, a little place that you want to, pretty easily. Let's just keep going. Fairly certain I'm not supposed to be in here, but we gonna do it anyway. This is kind of like the exploring I do on the Versus off-road, but a little, like, honestly easier. Like, this is sketchy, of course, but the riding is easier because the bike is so light. I think I'm at a dead end. Woo, if I was on the Versus, we'd be going in there. We would be going in there, but we are not. We're on a loaner BMW, so we're not going to do this today. We're going to go ahead and skedaddle, get back on the road. Note to self, come back here. This little tent city. Sucks to see this many homeless people, but and I try not to disturb the homeless, like, for my own entertainment. I'm not going to ride around and, like, wake them up and shit, but at some point I'd like to get in there if it's ever more chill. All right, we are downtown, cruising around, seeing what we see. We got a red light here. Can I go left on this road? There's a lot of one-ways down here, so you got to kind of play it easy and just really pay attention to where you're going. This is the campus, y'all. I don't know if any of you live in Atlanta or not. Oh, look at that Beetle. Ooh. But this is Georgia State. Pretty cool campus, honestly. None of these buildings are for the college, but they're all directly in the college campus, so that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and back it up in case that guy's crossing the street. He is not. Let's skedaddle. You can see the little, whatever that is that like a torch? What is the Georgia State University logo even? Is that a flame of some sort? A bowl of fire is what it looks like. I don't even know. Downtown Atlanta in all of its glory. That lane there is for this weird, like, trolley thing we have, which is just like the weirdest thing. Like, it doesn't take you very far at all. It basically takes you from one end of downtown to the other end, which in Atlanta isn't very far. And it doesn't even pass down, like, necessarily the most busy streets. Like, it goes down this street for a while, which is Peachtree Street. It's like the main street in downtown, but it doesn't really hit any other key points, so nobody really even rides it. It's like people don't ride it to get anywhere. They ride it to say they rode it, and then they just never ride it again. And a lot of times it's just straight up free, so like it'll just be like filled with like homeless people just kind of hanging out. It's just like a weird dynamic. It's like a train for the homeless that doesn't actually take them anywhere useful. Just the smells of the city, piss and weed. God damn it, dude. Like, if you guys could smell right now how bad it is, holy shit, it's horrible. I'm above Peachtree Center Mall, which is kind of cool, honestly. It's a little area that doesn't get much hype. It's literally an underground mall. Like, we are on the street right now, we are above a full-on mall. There's stores, a food court, everything is just underground. Not to be confused with Underground Atlanta, which is about 2 miles back the other way, and is also an underground mall. But, come on. But it's not as, like, useful of a mall, I would say. The Underground Atlanta, it's the Masquerade music venue is there, and there's a couple little, like, kind of chintzy, like, kind of like Hooter style, like, independent restaurants. But nothing really worth going to. But the Peachtree Center Mall is actually pretty useful. They have like a little newsstand where you can get like a paper or like some drinks and whatnot. There's like a jeweler in there, some clothing stores. It's actually pretty decent as far as the city mall goes. And we're just heading north away from there now. I'm gonna probably take you up to Midtown on this bike. Just kind of do what like this bike is designed to do. Just kind of cruise around the city and see what you see, get to work if you need to. Like, obviously Emory, Georgia Tech, there's so many things around here that like could have you cruising up this road on a bike just like this. So I just felt inclined to come down here and do just that, kind of do what these bikes are meant to do. They're not meant to blitz around a racetrack. They're not meant to go off-roading on. They're just meant to kind of hit the city streets, and let's do it. Avoid that cop completely because I don't fuck with him. I really hate being around cops on the road. Like, I know everybody hates being around cops on the road, but I really hate being around cops on the road. It is just not fun for me at all. Man. The riding position on this bike is honestly really good for somebody my size. That's like, you gotta always consider that like everybody is shaped differently and different lengths, different length arms, different length backs, everything is different. But for me, this is pretty neutral. It doesn't put too much weight on the wrist because the lean forward isn't too far, especially if I sit with good posture. There's almost no weight on the wrist. The reach from the seat to the pegs is tight, but not to where like it's like painful. It's tight to where it's like I feel like I'm kind of stretching and it's good. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel springy, but also like not cramped up. Like the bend is kind of like, it feels good. Like sometimes on sport bikes, I'll feel like my heel is trying to hit me in the back of my calf. I don't get that on this bike. On this bike, it just feels like, it's like a nice way to kind of stretch my legs a little bit. Kind of forcing me into like a little bit of a yoga position that's really comfortable and just nice and a good way to be. The tank is plastic in typical BMW fashion. So no magnetic tank bags or anything. You have to use some sort of strap system or something that bolts onto the gas cap, which I always run aftermarket gas cap, so sometimes making all that work together is a little weird. So I'd probably just forego a tank bag on this bike, for me in particular. I checked, there's lots of aftermarket hard bag accessories, so I just grab some of those if I need some luggage. If I don't intend on carrying a passenger at any point in the trip, just duffel on the back seat works, you know. You have options. This isn't a long distance, a long haul tour, so you shouldn't be packing that much anyway. But if you wanted to get a little bit of luggage on here, you could. This windscreen is great. I don't know who makes it, but it is awesome. It's really a styling exercise, not that it's really getting too much wind off of me, but I feel it a little bit. I feel it deflecting a little bit, and it's nice. It looks really dope is the biggest thing, especially when combined with this gold bar, which of course these aren't stock things. These are things you'd have to change. This bar is by Fly Racing. I knew that for sure. It's actually the same bar I ran on my Versys for a while. Not the same exact one, but an identical bar. I'm not sure if I still have mine. I think I do. Maybe I'll throw that back on for some videos or something. The get up and go is there. So overall, now I've been in the saddle of this bike for a couple hours. I will say it's comfortable, man. Surprisingly comfortable for a bike so small and a guy so big. I'm not the biggest dude ever, like, let's not pretend that I am, but I'm above average size, I'd say. And I'm comfy. The seat isn't doing anything weird to my underside that's gonna cause me too much hassle. Reach to the handlebars is really good. The one dimension that isn't talked about enough, I think, on these kind of like lower displacement bikes is the distance from seat to peg. And for me, it's good. That's a pretty neutral place for my leg to be. My foot does get pretty close to the passenger peg. Like if I'm on my very tip of my boot, I can just rest on it, which the average rider of this bike probably isn't wearing a size 11 shoe. So maybe that's that. But I see an opportunity for a lot of different places to kind of get my feet when I'm on a long ride. Like you want to kind of mix up your kind of like your leg position oftentimes because you're kind of cramped in a certain area. So like right now I'm comfortably heel resting on the passenger peg. That could be good. Heel kind of on the main peg, ball my foot on the main peg. There's like a lot of little bit of variances that make a big difference on this bike because it is such tight movements. That I think I can go pretty far on this and still find comfort when I need to. The seat is soft, but not too soft where I think you're gonna like start feeling like seat pan after a long time. A lot of bikes are like that, where the seat is super plush and comfy when you first sit on it, then you realize that kind of wears out and you're straight up feeling the seat pan on your underside and it sucks. All right, so final thoughts on the BMW G310R. It's good, man. It's a really good motorcycle. I kind of want one. I think for my money, I'd have to go with the GS version just because it is a dirt boy. I know for next bike, like it is honestly in the running for next bike because it's a lot of fun. I know for next bike, I wanted to go air cooled, and these are liquid cooled, so that's a problem for me in particular. I have really bad luck with radiators, so I kind of want to avoid them whenever possible, but it's a really cool motorcycle. Upside down forks. You got the gold fork leg, so it's pretty stylish. Like I said, the exhaust needs to go. I do like that all of the exhaust is exposed and you kind of see it though. That'd be even doper with like an aftermarket can. Suspension is honestly all right. It's loaded pretty soft, but I think that makes sense for a beginner bike. It wasn't too soft where I thought it was like spongy or dangerous. Just I'd like a little stifter. Brakes are good. They're not incredible or mind-blowing or anything, but they're good enough to stop this machine. You got disc on the both sides, one disc. Front disc is honestly pretty large for this bike. It's really the rear that falls short if we're being honest, but like again, I think it's plenty. All the controls are really compliant besides that issue I told you where clicking into neutral is a little weird. It's just you feel nothing at all, and I hate that. The brakes are BMWs, which is Brembo's Indian subsidiary, which they're making good products. It is obviously kind of a budget built thing. I think Brembo didn't want brakes coming out of Germany or coming out of India with their name on them. That's why they have BMW. But you see the same exact brakes on KTMs and Husqvarnas when they're small. The video I did a long time ago, I don't even know if it's still up, on the Husky 401. It had the same exact brake setup as this, and again, it was decent enough. All in all, I think this is a great motorcycle for $5,000 new. I don't know that you can do much better. As far as I'm concerned right now, for my money, top beginner bikes have to be this in either one of its versions, the Versys 300, or honestly, I'm gonna throw it out there, for the money, the Royal Enfield Himalayan is worth a check out. It's 400cc, so you're getting more displacement, somehow producing less power. But all these bikes are great, and I'm glad to see a lot more of them coming to market, because it's going to teach a whole new group of riders how to ride, and it's going to teach an older kind of experienced group of riders that they don't need as much power as they think they do. I know so many people that like swear by their leader bikes, and they think they need 1400 or 1500 or 1600 cc's to go touring, or they need 1000 cc's to commute. And really, man, 300 will do it. 250 will do it. I love 250, 300, even 400 class motorcycles, and I honestly think they're the future. The economy's not doing great. People don't have as much expendable income as they used to. People just want a thrifty way to have fun, and these motorcycles are it. You can buy this bike for $5,000, put a couple $1,000s in aftermarket on it, and have a completely custom motorcycle that is sick. It literally came from the factory with steel braided lines, which is fucking baller. Beep. I should not be cursing. But all in all, great motorcycle, great purchase. I've had a lot of fun with it. And I'm considering them, man. I've never really been a BMW guy, but they did a good job on this motorcycle. But of course, if you found this helpful, please hit thumbs up. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit subscribe on the channel. I really appreciate all the subscriptions I get. The number has been climbing, and that's making me so stoked, because for a while there, nobody was really watching. So it's cool that people are actually paying attention to these videos now. I super appreciate your support, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you in a couple days for another bike review, hopefully. I'm not going to say what it is, but it is a really fun one. Y'all have a good day. Peace.